If you know what's good for you, you'll follow us on Rumble. Please give this video a like and subscribe!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome back to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Alison, and this is Maintaining Frame. Are you conservative girly man incel? Take the test. Where we'll be looking at a couple of different Medium blogs, but sort of where they connect, I guess, or how they relate to each other. Yeah, help me out here.
Do you want me to explain my madness? All
Yeah.
right, yeah. Okay, so what we have is, on the one hand, the first article, 7 red flags for what, the guy could be a conservative. You have a woman
Wait, a conservative? That's a danger? That's like a problem?
Yeah, well, yes, of course, because he's not presenting progressive values. But here's the thing, okay? I have done a deep dive into how things are defined. And when they say progressive values, they mean don't be a man. Okay, guys? And I know there are progressives in our audience who are saying, what the hell? What are you talking about? The problem is that they have made a political position. And by they, I mean the psychology of men and masculinities, where a lot of this toxicity has been leaching into our society. They have decided that being a man is a political position. So even if you're progressive, if you are a progressive man, you are still a conservative. Right? You got to not identify with being, you're still a man. You got to not identify with being a man. You can't accept that there are any positive male traits. And in fact, if you think the things that you do are neutral, you have to constantly be abjuring, repenting of your sin, of your masculinity sins. That's the only way to be in, well, you're not even in. That's the only way to orbit the good people who are not you. Right? Now, I say that, okay, but anyway, getting back to the madness of these two pieces. On the one hand, we have a woman who's essentially saying, don't be a man. Okay? That's how you date me. Because a lot of the things that she terms conservative are actually just things that men do. And I know there's going to be people who are like, oh my God, you're bioessentializing. The honest to God truth about all of this is that men do have a nature, and they have a nature as a behavioral expression of how they bond, which is different than women. Women bond through oxytocin, men bond through vasopressin. Vasopressin creates behavioral differences. And the psychology of men and boys field has made bonding, the types of behavior you engage in because you have vasopressin, a political position that is also bad. Okay, that's what's happened. And she is essentially saying that if you bond through vasopressin and you have the behavioral profile of someone who bonds through vasopressin, you are bad. And you need to stop doing that. Okay? That's what this article is about. I know that sounds a little bit confusing. Does it sound confusing, Brian? Did you get that?
No, I've actually been saying it myself for a long time. Because I've also upset, I guess, some or many progressives that watch our content, because I've said that the problem is that the entire progressive leftist movement is inherently anti-male because it's against masculinity is the obstacle. That's just what it is. And I've been saying this forever. And you can call it whatever, partisan, whatever. But I'm partisan against people who hate me for what I am. So yes, call me partisan. But that's the reality. And the thing is that essentially it could be a legitimate position to hold if it weren't basically just run by women who are afraid of their own shadow and paranoid of all men because they've had fear of men instilled in them, and that's why they turn the fear and hatred of men into a political cause. And it basically informs every worldview, every belief, every initiative, every policy, every vote that they cast. All of it is revolving around, like, how do I protect myself from the scary men and free myself from patriarchy. So yeah, I mean, when they say the word, and I was saying this, I remember Kevin Logan. You guys remember Kevin Logan? I find it very interesting. That's a blast. Yeah,
that's a blast from the past.
This is how old this is. Kevin Logan used to accuse us constantly of being right-wing conservatives. He didn't even explain why that's bad or pejorative. I mean, at the time, I didn't think it was accurate, so I basically said, no, that's not true. But now I look back and I realize what he was actually doing was saying, you are bad. This is what bad is described as. These are the descriptors for bad. You are bad, therefore you are right-wing conservative, right? So that has basically taken on a life of its own as a label. It is a thought-terminating cliche. It's like calling someone a misogynist. It's like calling someone a racist or a bigot. It's the same thing. It just means, shut up, you're not allowed to have an opinion on this thing. You are not one of us. Mm-hmm. Or you are not in the social web. You're not part of the network. You are, persona non grata.
In the black category.
Yeah, you're a black category. Exactly. And this is what Kevin Logan was doing. And he used to come on our show. I mean, gosh, this was so long ago. This was like when we used to have Theron Meyer on regularly, who, Theron Meyer was a trans woman, but it didn't matter to Kevin Logan because she was associating with us. So she was also a right-wing conservative, right? Even though it was literally, Theron Meyer was a trans woman from Canada.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the I'm explaining the logic behind it. It's just, it's just. Yeah, well, I mean, and that's what this article is too, I think. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, it is. And I have myself, I don't identify as a conservative. I don't identify as right-wing. I don't identify as a Republican. I'm not even American, right? Mm-hmm. I just don't even resonate with a lot of the stuff that's said by especially the Republican Party. No offense.
I'm not a Republican either, Alison. So
yeah, I don't like all. I am just there's politicians and corporatists and everybody else. But regardless, I went into this and I came from a liberal background, a liberal feminist background, and I had concern about racism and all of this other stuff. And I noticed the connection between how particular narratives would treat Black men and men generally, right? So that's sort of my part of where I came from. And I was like, well, I don't think it's fair to treat white men like this. I don't think it's fair to treat any men like this. Mm-hmm. So that's I didn't come from this from a conservative angle. I'm not saying that conservatism is bad. I'm just saying that's not the angle I came to this from. And then I'm doing this research into this field of progressivism and how progressivism frames masculinity. And it's absolutely toxic. They have turned being a man into a political position.
Yep.
And then they have said that this political position is wrong. And I know you get into these arguments about bioessentialism, but you cannot argue with the endocrine architecture. You can't. Men and women have different hormonal profiles. Women bond through oxytocin. They probably also bond through V1A cross activation, but that's a detail. Men bond through vasopressin. These have behavioral differences. And if you're going to argue with that, you're going to have to argue with all of biology. And then you get into the whole, reality has a left-wing bias. No, it doesn't. I'm sorry, it doesn't, especially not when this very much coded. And in the documents themselves that I'm looking at, they're literally calling out conservatism as masculinity, right? They know the connection between wanting to protect and provide for your family and having an environment in which you can do so. Okay, they understand that connection. I know conservatives don't often make that connection, but there is a strong connection between those two things. And it's not like men are necessarily conservative. It's that what they want to do in the world requires freedom. It requires having an external standard to hold yourself to. It requires being able to work and earn the material necessary to support your family. It requires being able to protect your family. Like these behavioral adaptations that men have require a certain suite of rights and environmental factors to be able to be manifested, which tends to have men run along certain political lines. Now, in the past, there was, like the old Union men could maybe express their masculinity through that particular political axis, but that's gone. It's been cannibalized by intersectionality and feminism. So you're just left with this one way. And it's not healthy because it can be exploited too. Like it anyway, that my overall point is that what I'm looking at now is that the field the psychology of men and boys, which itself is a derivative, a descendant of feminism. So it is something that the feminism and women's studies spawned in the 70s, late 70s, is this masculinity of men and boys, which honestly, it's not masculinity. It has nothing to do with men and boys. It's just basically, this is what men and boys have to be in order for feminist conjecture to be correct. Let's grade men and boys on the feminist conjecture scale of men and boys. It is a purely political artifact. It is basically saying that men are a political position and that political position is wrong. And it's right there in black and white in a field that is derivative of feminism, that has influence over developmental banks. Like we're talking about the World Bank, which is like the US Treasury has a controlling interest in the World Bank, and the European Bank of a Development Bank. And it crosses the entire world. So these people are influencing how masculinity is taught, how funds get apportioned throughout the world. Right, their version of masculinity, which is nothing of the sort. Right, it's basically just saying men are the bad people, and they're political. So and
yeah, being
they
a man
also
is
have
political,
influenced. Yeah,
whether he
they've
wants it
also
to be or
influenced.
not. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
like being a person bonding through vasopressin and having the behavioral effects of that is a political position to them. And it's not legitimate. It's not a legitimate political position. It's something that needs to be eradicated. So if men aren't willing to repent of their sin, of their biological nature, and again, I'll say something like this, and they'll go and they'll say, "Well, you think that you don't think that men could be better, right?" Because they do the next thing, which is associate masculinity with rapings and beatings and authoritarianism, right? But what actually is associated with it is just the type of behaviors that men have, the desire to protect and provide, mate guarding, right? Okay, that kind of stuff. That's just a set of behaviors that comes out of their endocrine biology and how they bond. And they've turned it into a political black category. Right? Anyway, so the point is that this is in the wild expression of what the psychology of men and boys field has created, this political divide, and she's just perpetuating it. So she is taking, and she probably doesn't even know. Like this is what's the name of the individual, the 7 flags of your conservative individual?
Dana DB, the person who wrote
Yeah, she
it.
probably has. Yeah,
Yeah.
she probably has no idea of the provenance of any of this. She's just picked it up from school.
No, this is NPC talking points. It's just responding to the programming. There's nothing. Yeah.
And she probably has no idea that when you look at it through the lens of endocrine architecture, what she's asking men to be is not men.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And she's asking them to do things that are not native to how they think about the world. And essentially what she's asking men to be is a bunch of sociopaths who virtue signal. And she has no idea that she's doing it. And the second part of my madness is we're going to look at somebody who's actually part of the manosphere, who recognizes that this is what women are expecting of men. They're expecting men to hollow out the custodial impulses that are part and parcel with the vasopressin bonding system. So hollow themselves out and then virtue signal, right? And then have no because of all this, have no actual custodial investment in women, right? Because there's all kinds of other stuff. And he's looking at these impossible standards that result from this. And he's saying, well, this is how you live up to these impossible standards, man. And it's like, so you got the feminist who's promoting this whole being a man is politics. So stop that, men. Right? This the bad politics. It's the bad category in the politics, the black category. So you got to stop that. And then you've got the man on the other side, the manosphere man, who's saying, okay, well, this is the dating landscape that's created by the psychology of men and masculinity's field. This is the dating landscape that has been created, how, with all these impossible standards that women want, like hot ice. How do you live up to that, man? Here's your guide. It's like, the answer is you can't. But men still want to be desirable to women. It's still a desire. It's like it's something that drives them. And of course it does, because if it didn't drive them, we wouldn't be here as a species, I'm sorry to say. Like, you imagine if men had been easily evolved to simply be like, yeah, I don't care about being desirable to a woman. Right? That doesn't happen, because then we don't have a future generation. So there is a drive for men to be desirable to women. And what this guy is doing is he's inducing fear. You'll never be desirable. Look at how impossible these standards are. And then he's buying, or he's selling, the solution to that fear. And the fear is not wrong, because you can see it in these women's standards that are contradictory and basically amount to hollow yourself out as a man. Right? Become not you. Become a thing that isn't you. Because we don't want that. We don't want the behavior that is a emergent property of bonding via vasopressin. So hollow yourself out. And he's saying, well, this is how you hollow yourself out, guys. Buy my course. I don't know if he's probably just got a Substack or something. And I'm not saying that it's an intentional thing on his part, because I think there's a lot, like this wall for men, that women will say, okay, I want these dozen impossible things. And guys are like, okay, yeah, all right, fine. I'll go try do that. There's a wall about questioning what women demand. And again, that's like, it makes sense evolutionarily, because the woman is responsible for taking care of a 10-pound slug that has no mercy. So, presumably some of the demands that she's making end up the offspring survives. So being able to question them isn't probably evolutionarily selected for, but really we should be questioning these things. Because women don't know what they want. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll start with the things. All right. Feedthebadger.com/justthetip if you want to send a message and a tip with the message. We get the full benefit of whatever funds you send. You get the benefit of not sending your comment through YouTube's comment labyrinth to be eaten by the Minotaur, the comment Minotaur. All right. And if you want to support the show, feedthebadger.com/support. I think that's really critical. Like, guys, do support us, because this is about the only place where I see that is correcting the record on men. Not just saying, oh, these are the problems that men face. Oh, this is the situation, but also correcting the record and saying the psychology of men and masculinities field is absolutely wrong about men, expecting or casting men the way that men are as a political position is, and not just a political position, but the wrong political position, is astounding, right? So if you want to make sure that the record is corrected on men, right, go to feedthebadger.com/support and support the show. Right now, the fundraiser is available, and you can also set up a subscription through there as well. So it's all in one shop, but you have to go to feedthebadger.com/support. All right, shall we begin?
Yeah. So we're gonna start with.
Wow, that was a long rant.
Yeah, it was. We're gonna start. We're starting the stream now. 7. This is from Medium. 7 dating profile tells that mean he's conservative, which I guess means avoid him. Reading dating profiles is a translation exercise. Here's the decoder. This is obviously a woman that's gonna try and
Relational web, right there. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right
Relational
off the
web,
bat.
their
Yeah, that's
big
what
thing.
that is.
The
Yep.
big thing is decoding the gap between what people show and what people say. Now, I can immediately, if there's any woman who's actually watching this to determine how to determine if a man is a conservative, he's going to tell you.
You can just ask him.
Just ask him.
He probably he probably doesn't want to waste his time with someone who doesn't share his values.
Exactly.
So,
right, he doesn't want to waste his time with you. So don't even think that they're just these conservative men sneaking around trying to get into your pants. I mean, I'm sure they are, but I mean, if you look good and you kick him out the next day, what does it matter? His politics, right?
Right. Well, that depends on what the purpose of the date is, but like, I don't think that conservative men want one night stands generally. I don't think most men want that. I think most men want a pair bond, and but they want a pair bond with someone who shares their values. Like, why would you want to be with someone who you disagree with on so many fundamental things? So
you don't.
I think this is just more mate suppression. This is Dana trying to sabotage her audience, basically ruin their chances. Again, so
a conservative man will probably tell you.
Yeah.
And if he's not telling you, he's probably just wants a one night stand. Like, what do you think? He's going to spring it on you in year 16 of your relationship? Oh, by the way, I've been conservative this entire time. Ha ha ha. Oh, I thought you were gay. No, I've been in the conservative closet. Like, what is this woman? Right off the bat, this is complete illogic. Okay, go ahead, Brian.
No. I got a couple some super chows and a rumble rant. So I'm gonna just read those and then get into the article. Okay. So Dark Kikimora sent a super chow yesterday related to the patron show, but I'm just gonna read it anyway. And he says for $5, I like this game better when it was called Cooking Mama. We played a game in the patron show called a little demo for a game called Woman Simulator. Pretty hilarious. So that was him responding to that. And if you wanted to see that, you'd have to become a member. So go to feedthebadger.com/subscribe so you can check that out. I also got a compliment from V for Vernon Meeks. He also said that he thought that was hilarious, the after show. But anyway, Roboto 1234567 gave us $1 and says society requires a villain they can point at. Blaming men solved that problem so far. As times changes, so will more get revealed. One day slavery will come to an end, and then progress can happen. Thank you for that. And then Anonymous gives us $50. Thank you so much. And says, women are wonderful is bullshit. I'd rather trust a single dad taking care of his kids. All right. Thank you for that. Yes, it's true. It is bullshit. Unfortunately, a lot of people, especially men, are still buying into that line. So that's part of the reason why we're here. All right. Now, back to this. Reading dating profiles is a translation exercise. Here is the decoder. I'm going to help you ladies figure out, no matter what he says to you, I'm going to tell you what he's actually saying. I live in Seattle. Well, that's what that boils down to. Don't listen to what he tells you. Listen to my interpretation.
I'm just like cringing. Like, all of my cringe organs are currently cringing.
Engaged.
Engaged,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, they're engaged. The dating pool. Oh, I live in Seattle, which means I live in a great big blue bubble by choice. The dating pool here skews liberal enough that I can afford to be choosy about politics, and I am. Your mileage will vary if you're swiping in Boise or Birmingham. The codes are different, the baseline is different, and some of what reads as a red flag here is just Tuesday somewhere else. Oh, I just want to point out too, the writer of this article, Dana DB, she is Gen X, which means she's like in her 40s and 50s. So, still dating? I'm just saying that I wouldn't. That seems to immediately disqualify her from being listened to. But I'll listen to her anyway. Maybe she's like had a relationship and a marriage, and her husband died tragically, and she's a widow. I doubt that though. She seems to be someone who is single by choice. I'm sorry, living in Seattle by choice, not single by choice.
Well, it doesn't
Okay.
even matter because she's choosing the dark side.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But I've been doing this long enough to have developed a reliable internal translator. Most men won't tell you they're conservative. They figured out that the math doesn't work in their favor, and the math is real. Women aged 18 to 29 are now 15 points more liberal than men the same age. And women among the under 35 crowd, the progressive gender gap runs as high as 21 points. Young women have moved left. Yeah, go ahead. It's okay.
I know I gotta shut up. I gotta let this.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Let's remember before I get into this more. This woman is in her 50s probably because I'm Gen X and I'm 52. She's Gen X according to her own confession. So she's either in the late 40s or 50s, and she is talking about women between the ages of 18 to 35. So she's commenting on women that are much younger than her. Tell me this isn't her trying to sabotage other women's relationships. But anyway, young women have moved left faster than any group in decades, largely after Dobbs, and they have done so for the entirely rational reason that they would prefer to date people who believe they should have authority over their own bodies. So conservative men have learned to go quiet. They don't lie exactly. They omit. These are the tells. So this is her like getting it all set up. All right. Do you want to say anything about this so far? Or should I just keep going?
We went through this extensively, right? Conservative men aren't going to lie about it. What do you think they're there for? They're there to have a relationship with you. And they know that you are not somebody they can have a relationship with. This only makes sense, honestly. Like I was like listening to this and I was thinking this only makes sense as if what she's after is masculinity itself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If what she wants to exclude is masculinity itself. Because I think the paranoia here is that she is trying to uncover if men are hiding the fact they're men. And I can tell her and her audience that one, they are not hiding the fact that they are men. And two, if you all want to date a man, eventually you will have to confront the fact that he is a man. Okay?
Yeah.
Or alternatively, you will have to confront the fact that you are not attracted to him. Right?
Yeah.
And this is the funny thing, because there are plenty of feminist articles that essentially confess the fact that they are not attracted to men who do not act like men. And in fact, most feminist men, and I'm not talking about the psychos, the sociopaths who do the feminist ally thing because they want to be able to, get a woman's
Russian
social security number.
Let's say the Russian
Deadpools. Yeah, the social security number, the kidney, and also, does this rag smell like chloroform?
Yeah. Not those guys.
Not those guys. I'm just talking about the gormless, like, don't know what the hell they're doing, think that they're just being good guys.
Yeah, I think that they genuinely think that if they ascribe to these beliefs that they'll gain favor with their peers, which includes women.
Or be a good person.
So they're
a good person.
Or they think that's what it means to be a good person. So they're just doing that.
Yeah.
So
even those guys, eventually the feminists will have to either recognize that they're dating a man or that they aren't attracted to him. And like I said, I've seen lots of feminist articles asking, or actually, I'll say that the first one that I saw was like 14 years ago. It was from a woman named Clarissa. I don't remember the rest of Clarissa Thorne or something. And she basically said, How do I reconcile the fact that I want men to be feminists, but all the feminist men I have ever met have left me as dry as the Sahara?
Yeah.
How do I manage this?
How do you square that
I'm
circle?
like, how do you square that circle? Well, my dear, feminist political theory wants a man to stop being a man, wants him to basically hollow out his essential nature. But get this, he is that way because billions of increasingly less furry female hominids selected for just that man. And you are just another generation of those female hominids. So you are not just fighting against his nature, you are also fighting against your own nature, right? You don't want that. You are the product of all of that selection to want that man who you are now saying, don't be the man that I want. Good luck to us. Like, seriously, this is where we're at as a human race. Women are not allowed to want, what they have evolved to want, and what they have selected through millions of years of evolution. And men are not allowed to be the thing that women have evolved to want. And then we get feminist articles with feminists saying, well, why am I not attracted to feminist men? Like, why you do this, human race? Why? Like, do you need the gigantic brained aliens from Alpha Centauri to come down and take over for a bit?
I mean, it's just the time of Sodom and Gomorrah. There's going to be a flood's coming, and then we'll be reset again. All right, I got a
metaphorical flood.
Well, yeah, yes, of course. I got another Rumble rant. Roboto 1234567 gave $1 and said they can date AI men, body pillow boyfriends, and/or husbands, as well as just go full lesbian and bring suffering to all the lesbian community, only to buy a bunch of cats. Okay, thank you for that. We got to continue. Let's get into the list. So number 1, God, country, family. Any of them, but especially all of them in that order. So there it is. So basically, okay, let me just read the thing. A man can be devout and progressive. They exist. I've met them. Doubt it. But here's the thing. A liberal man of faith almost always says so because he knows the word Christian in a dating bio reads as a political signal and he wants to head off the assumption. So if the profile invokes Jesus, faith, God first, or family values with zero counter signaling, no progressive Christian, no rainbow, no anything, assume the default reading is the correct one. The men who are the exception know they're the exception and tell you. The silence is the answer. So,
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
What the hell is she even on? The conservative man leads with the fact that he's a Christian. I will decode this for you, ladies. He is a Christian.
No, she's saying a liberal man will admit that he's a Christian, and then because he has to get ahead of that, because she is admitting that saying you're a Christian comes with a bunch of like baggage already that women like her are going to like recoil at. So you have to say I'm a Christian, but unlike everything that Christianity is, I am nothing like a Christian, and here's why. Here's all of the. I want you to kill your babies. I want you to trans your kids. I want you to do all the things. I'm all about the pride flag. I'm all about all the things that Christianity is normally saying. You know, that's not quite right. And you basically have to be a Christian in name only in order for her to count you as one. So that's what she's saying. Like she's actually admitting that if you're a man that's dating or looking to date someone and you happen to be a Christian man, you literally can't tell people that's what you believe because it will kill your chances with liberals. She's baking it in. See? Christian equals conservative.
Yeah, that's
what
but
you
want to kill your chances with liberals. Come on.
Well, yeah, like, you do, honestly, but I'm just saying.
You really want to square that circle for the rest of your life as a man? But my point was this. Okay, let me tell you my point. Right? She's saying that a man simply saying that they're Christian is hiding something from her. Right? Well, he's not. Because she's already saying that in order to differentiate himself from the average Christian, he has to do this other stuff. Well, if he's not doing it, he's not hiding anything. Right? He's saying, I'm a Christian, just a vanilla Christian, okay? That's it. I'm a vanilla Christian. Right?
Yeah.
No other stuff. No other beliefs. Well, he's already being clear about what he is. I'm saying that she's inventing a conspiracy about a guy being clear about being a Christian.
Yeah.
Right? And this is the insanity here. She looks at that and she cannot accept that is just he's just plainly telling you what he is. She has to invent a whole other category to make this some kind of deceitful maneuver that she has to get out her microscope and determine the truth of this. He said he's a Christian. Does that mean he's a Christian? Does that mean it's like, lady, at no point did a person just plainly say they were a Christian mean that they also were pro LGBTQ plus or pro abortion or pro, making your kids trans, right? Or pro pre 18 puberty blockers or anything like that. Nowhere was that ever packaged in with Christianity. You are applying a bunch of additional things to pretend that a man saying he's a Christian is a conspiracy against you.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is what she's constructing. She's constructing this conspiracy of conservative men who are trying to get with radical liberal women, right? Not just liberal women, but women who will construct their entire lifestyle around being liberal, that there's this fleet of invisible conservative men after them. To do what is the question? Because at some point the conversation has to happen, right? Unless these conservative men are out, this fleet of invisible conservative men are out there to hit it and quit it. Eventually
all
a
the
relationship
invisible conservative men that live in Seattle.
Yeah, all the invisible conservative men that live in Seattle are apparently after this woman and her audience. Oh, okay, just keep reading. It's too ridiculous.
Yeah, so I think, did I get another super chat? No, I thought I saw something. All right, so that was number 1. Number 2, he uses words like traditional or feminine. Okay, you just use that word. Are you a red flag? The person who wrote this article, you've written this a couple of times. Traditional what? It's never specified, and it doesn't need to be. Traditional does a lot of quiet work here. And the work is, I have ideas about who cooks, who earns, who defers, and whose career bends around whose. Same goes for feminine and nurturing, deployed as the headline qualities he's seeking. A man who leads with what he wants you to provide, softness, care, traditional womanhood, without a word about what he's bringing, has told you the shape of the arrangement he has in mind. Believe him. This woman's trying to ruin the lives of other women. I'm just saying, but go ahead.
But again,
yeah.
He's completely honest about what he wants, and she's reading some kind of covert conspiracy into it. Like, how do you do this? Like, you imagine this guy writing this profile. Yeah, I'm a Christian. Yeah, I want a traditional wife. Feminine, right? Okay. Christianity already has the whole provide and protect baked in, but let's just ignore that. We don't know. Actually, let's not ignore that. That's part of being of Christian manhood, is to provide and protect, right? Well, it's also part of just manhood, period, but we'll just go with he's signaling what he is. And he says, I want a traditional woman, traditional relationship. Fine. Right? Everything is fine. She is reading into that he's hiding himself. Somehow he secretly wants her. I think that's the real issue here.
Oh, yeah.
She's constructing a narrative where this fleet of invisible conservative men secretly want her. Like, what? And I swear to God, this is because these women cannot just go out and say, yes, I want a man. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I want a guy who can reach things on the top shelf and open pickle jars and maybe take care of an intruder. I just want a guy who, has greater risk tolerance than me, more muscle mass, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just want a man. She can't say that. And she knows that the man lives in the conservative somehow. And she doesn't realize it's because she believes in a political schema in which men are a political category, and they just call it conservative because that's their word for everything bad, right? Right? She knows that men live in that political and she knows she wants them. So she's inventing this fleet of conservative men who are after her. Good Lord, lady, just let go of your liberalism. It's making you very unhappy and strange.
Yeah.
Maybe not. You don't even have to let go of your concern for like the trans kids. Maybe don't promote things that are unethical, but or your concern about kids starving in Ethiopia. Whatever. You don't even have to let go of this incredibly female nature. I mean, that's sort of where we're at, right?
Yeah.
Just let go of the parts that don't let you have a man. You'll be a lot happier. Then you don't have to go on Medium and invent a fleet of conservative men who are after you and your audience for no apparent reason. Okay, let's keep going.
All right. Number 3, moderate, apolitical, and I don't really do politics. This is the big one, and it operates along a sliding scale of confidence. Moderate usually means conservative but aware of the room. He's read the same gender gap data I have. Moderate is camouflage. Not political, or I keep politics out of it, is in a liberal city a near certainty. Genuinely apolitical people exist, but a man secure in left-leaning views in Seattle generally doesn't feel the need to firewall the topic. Being political is socially frictionless for him. The man who needs politics off the table is the man who knows his politics are the problem. He's not above the fray. He just knows he can't get laid if he's honest, so he's decided not to be. And anyone in this political...
Again. No, I'll let you
Let me just finish the sentence. It's just one sentence. And anyone in this political climate who opts out of thinking about politics is letting his privilege show. Not a good look.
So you can't even be moderate. You can't even be moderate.
You can't be indifferent.
Can't be indifferent.
Nope.
You have to take a position.
Yep.
Right, as a man.
Yep.
And that position has to be one in which, when the government says, I'm going to make it harder for you to protect and provide for your family, you're like, yes, sir. That's exactly what I want. I want a climate and I want an environment where it's literally impossible for me to fulfill my role of protecting and providing my woman. Like that's essentially the politics that you have to embrace. Okay. But also, again, moderates are conservatives, the indifferent are conservatives, and they're clearly listing what they are. And she's inventing more conservative men. She's adding to the fleet of invisible conservative men who really want to nail her. And they're okay. They want to have sex with her. And they're what are they going to do after that? Like, presumably some of them are after a relationship, but apparently I guess they're all just after one night stands. Again, I don't understand the problem here. Okay? If it's a conservative, if one of this fleet of invisible conservatives who's honing in on her ass actually gets to crack, right? Okay?
Yeah.
And then it's just a one-night stand, what does it matter? Right? You have a good time, that's over. I'm not sure if that's exactly what conservatives are trying to do here, but regardless, right? And if he is a conservative and he says it on the date, okay, it's over because you're incompatible. So what is her worry? Why is she inventing this fleet of conservative men who are like this constant swarm after her? Is what I'm getting at. Like, there's no outcome here that's really that bad. Like, so you had a one-night stand with a conservative man. That's the worst outcome. Well, you had one-night stand with a conservative man. So he's more likely to have a custodial disposition. So unlike the sociopaths you usually give it up for, he'll actually let you use his bathroom before you leave. Like, he'll actually be nicer to you. Like, what is the problem here? I swear to God, the actual payload for all of this is her and her audience imagining there is a literal like I don't know, battalion of invisible conservative men after
conservative
them.
brigands, like the sex
Brigands,
traffickers from
yes.
Supergirl, the brigands. Yes.
But they're after her, right?
Yep.
No, I don't even think it's that. I think it's just literally well, maybe it is. Maybe it is sort of like a little bit of a Gorean fantasy in her mind too.
Yeah, she's got this like
All of these.
what was it? Mad Max, Fury Road, and Immortan Joe was like the warlord, and he had like women that were just like for breeding purposes, and that to her, that's what a conservative. That's your typical conservative guy right there. like, guys with harems. Even though yes, some of that does exist, but it's not really predominant in this country. But yeah. This is I don't know. It is kind of like
sexy conservative men.
I think that she is getting a little bit aroused from writing this stuff. I mean, that's just what I imagine because
getting a flutter.
But I just want to point out, like, we've gone through 3 of these things, and there's absolutely nothing about any of them that should be in any way controversial. And in fact, if you excluded men for those things, you would like eliminate more than half of all men. Before we even got to any men that might meet your actual, like, let's say affirmative standards, like height and their ability to earn and maybe whatever the age range is. And the thing is too, is that as men get old, as anybody gets older, they typically do become more conservative. Like they kind of like back down from some of the more radical ideas about changing the world. They're just less into that. They're more like willing to settle into the groove and figure out the best way to exist because they have lived a life and they're just sort of like, it's just the way that the people work. As we get older, we tend to calm down. We tend to be more, take it easy. We tend to be a little bit more, let's say, old school in our beliefs. I mean, even if you just carried the beliefs you had from youth, they would be considered conservative beliefs when you're old anyways. Like, I haven't changed much from the guy I was in the 80s, but, people would probably think that I was way behind the times, old man, boomer. So, like, she's in her 50s and she doesn't want to grow up. That's what I'm getting. And she has a problem with other men who have grown up, who have basically been like, yeah, I just want, like, a woman that's gonna be, like, helping me out, that's going to be nurturing, going to help raise my kids. I want kids. Like, wanting kids is a conservative position now. Just wanting to have a family. Which, by the way, you need families in order to perpetuate the species so that we can have a human race. So these people are a death cult. Like, they think that anything that moves the world forward in terms of, like, people liking each other, people, like, seeing, I don't know, like, appealing to a higher power to keep themselves humble, wanting to have kids and start families and build community together so that they have like a network of other people who also have families that want the best for them. All that is a problem for these people. They don't want any of this. They think it's all bad. Their brains are rotted out. They're rotted out. I don't know what else to say. Anyway, but I'm just saying this is where we are. If you're just a guy who's like, yeah, I'm not political. She's like, oh, yes, you are. That is political. Yes, you are. Mm-hmm. You are my enemy.
I didn't know she was 50.
Well, she's honestly, Gen X. She says she's a Gen Xer. So if she's Gen X, then she's got to be like around 50.
And this is destroying the prospects of younger women.
Yeah. She's sabotaging other women.
Honestly.
Yeah.
She's just sabotaging other women.
She thinks she's helping them. Like, imagine if you were... sorry, go ahead.
While imagining this fleet of conservative men honing in on our ass, I actually had another thought while you were talking about, you're right, because the other thing they have is they probably have providership expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's another article I can talk about briefly, but it's in the same train where she blames on patriarchy men who are not providing sufficiently somehow. Yeah. And so there is still this providership expectation, but if you have a providership expectation but you want it to come from a man who isn't custodial, like who doesn't have those masculine political traits, I'm not even going to call it conservative anymore because I'm going to call it what it is. Masculine traits. Right? That's what they're after. That's what they are against. You can call it right wing, far right, conservative, Bernie Bros, whatever you want to call it, because they got words for the left side of the ledger too. If you're a man, they're after masculine political traits, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you square that? Because if you want a man who makes money but doesn't have the custodial orientation of like somebody who has proper working vasopressin, then what are you actually asking for? You're asking for an extractor. Like you're
Yeah.
asking for somebody who basically rent seeks and extracts from other people. This
Yep.
is what she's selecting for. So not like, and again, this is more than just mate suppression. She's actively cultivating these young women as a sexual resource for the worst type of men in society, which are the men who have constructed this fatberg, this financial fatberg, so they can extract, so they can feed on it. Right? And those men don't have a custodial disposition, because a custodial disposition wants to build something. That's what we had like prior to the 80s. Like there's a bit of a demarcation in how we approached business when they deregulated stock buybacks. So
Mm-hmm.
before, if you wanted to make money as a CEO, you would improve your product, you would make it cheaper, or you would increase its reach. Right? That's how you made money. All three of which are a manifestation of a custodial mindset, a mindset that wants to build, wants to improve, wants to benefit, wants to make a good product. After
Yeah.
they deregulated the buybacks, a CEO can come in, take a cheap Fed loan, buy up his stock, increase his personal income through this kind of chicanery, and then fuck off when the bill comes due, because the stock is now worth way more than the actual revenue comes in, because they didn't invest in making more revenue. Right? So it's a little more complicated by that, but there's two different mentalities here. And what she's doing by being anti-masculinity is selecting for the extractive mentality. What a surprise that over like the last 50 years, as women like this infiltrate how we talk about ourselves and infiltrate corporate language, like as CEO pay has rocketed up to like 200 to 300 times the average worker. Like I think the estimate is that it's gone up 100,000 or 1,000%, whereas the average worker has gone up like 25%. While CEO pay is skyrocketing because of all of these extractive processes, women like these have saturated the corporate landscape with DEI and ESG bullshit, which literally selects for the men who extract versus the men who build.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what she's doing right now. She is taking a new generation of women and saying, you know the type of men you want? You want men with no custodial orientation who nevertheless have money. Well, who are those men? And you want to give it up to those men. You want to be a sexual convenience for those men. She's like constructing a fucking harem for the psychopaths on top.
Yeah.
This is like Ghislaine Maxwell light.
Mm-hmm.
Thick fucking shit. All right, let's keep going.
All right. I got another Rumble rant from Roboto for $1, and he says, "Are you stating the musical Cats is coming true, and the cats in the alley are actually prophecy about human people?" All right. Anyway, so let's do the next one. But yeah, remember, she is in her 50s, and she's giving advice to women in their 20s. Number 4, the country music plus tank top plus flexing trifecta. Any one of those alone is nothing. Liking country music is not a worldview. A gym selfie is not a manifesto. But the combination, country music as a stated identity paired with sleeveless gym photos, paired with the bicep flex, is a cluster, and clusters mean something that individual data points don't. It's a whole semiotic package, and the package is rarely wrong. You already know that what it's telling you. So again, we're just judging books by their cover. You know. Number 5, the guns. Anywhere in the profile, a handgun, rifle, a photo at the range, a holster as a personality. I don't care about the Second Amendment debate in the abstract. In my dating pool, a gun in the grid is a values flag, and it points one direction. But it's more than politics. Every time a woman meets someone from an app, she's getting into a car or a bar with a stranger she can't fully verify, and she's done the math before she walks out the door, told a friend where she'll be, kept her location on, planned the exits. That's the baseline cost of dating white wild female. So when a man leads with a firearm, he thinks it reads as capable and protective. What it actually does is puts the exact thing I'm already afraid of right there in the grid and asks me to find it attractive. A man who can't see why that lands differently from my side of the risk has told me something more disqualifying than his politics. Out. He threw away his shot, at least with me.
Okay, all right, because Gen X 50-year-old pussy has told you you're not getting any.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord. Also, I can't help but have you noticed
you can't have none of this, honey. Takes another drag from her cigarette. I bet you want some of this, but you can't. It's not for you. You have too many guns. You're too conservative for me.
I don't know. I think Dr. Girlfriend wouldn't mind that. But regardless, she's closing her legs. Don't mind the echo in the cathedral. God damn.
Oh.
You're overvaluing yourself. And the truth is that she's doing this. She's trying to convince young women to do this, to scupper their chances too. But also, I can't help but notice that every single step of these has been her describing a man being very clear about who he is and what he values or doesn't, and her saying these are conservative dog whistles.
Yeah.
So if a man goes, you guys, if you're a conservative and you want to start a dating profile, just realize that if you say I'm a conservative, that is a dog whistle that you're a conservative. Like, what the hell? Like, do you see this? Like, so far, every single one of this has been a man clearly stating who he is and his values.
It's almost always that, isn't it? They say, oh, I'm going to talk about something, nothing in particular, just some ideas I had, and it gets really specific. Like, you're like, wait, this is personal, right? There's some history in this. What's the lore, lady? Yeah.
Yeah, there is some lore here, but my overall point is that she promised a conspiracy, and she's showing us men who are being completely honest on their bios. Right? You see what I'm saying, Brian?
Yeah.
At the very most, maybe she might be able to squint and see that fleet of conservatives who are gunning for her butt. In the moderate and in like the guys who are like, I don't want to say. But maybe they are genuinely indifferent. Like, it's one of the things that I find so amusing about women is they're constantly trying to figure out what men are thinking. And I'm like listening to their increasing like batshit conspiracy theories. I'm like, what? He probably just told you. Like, and this is exactly what is happening. These men are telling her exactly where they stand and what they believe and what's important to them. And she's like, how is this? What is the secret message? And the hilarious thing is this. Yeah, they're saying I'm a conservative, and she's saying, what's the secret message? This is the secret message a conservative
They're trying to
will tell you.
men.
Yeah. I'm just, what is he really saying? He says he's a conservative. Is he saying he's a conservative? Like,
I gotta find a blog about this.
I think that more than being old, I think she's insane.
Well, yeah, she's unhappy. That's for sure. All right.
Like, why would you? And again, I think the payload for her and her audience is that for some reason there's this stupid, sexy fleet of conservative men that are secretly after them and trying to get in their pants. But they don't want that. They just really want to imagine it in great detail. Okay.
Yeah. All right, number 6. The dead animal that isn't a fish. The man holding a dead fish in his dating app is already a trope, and for good reason. It's a universal dating app cliche that's become its own joke. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. Is she a vegan? But it's not a giveaway for MAGA simply because it's too common. Oh, so there it is. Now we know what she really means when she says conservative men. She
It's
means
just
MAGA.
nosh, guys. It's just
Yeah.
it's just a faux pas to have a fish.
Yeah, but a
Well,
dead buck.
you'll
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay.
She's saying the fish is bad, but this is worse. But a dead buck or bird or anything held up by the antlers or wings or scruff, then he's conservative, near certainly. Okay, I'll be honest that sometimes even the fish, in concert with everything else, completes a picture. But the deer is not ambiguous. Yes. Do you hunt? Do you hunt? Well, guess what?
You hunt.
And you know,
Well, I
some
guess
people
that's
they catch fish and they throw them back. Like they just catch them to see if they could do it, and then they throw them back in the ocean. They don't even kill them.
But
Sometimes.
also, yeah, I guess there's a rural manhood out. Like, because this is,
Yeah.
but then again, this is Seattle. How many times does she see a deer in a profile in Seattle? I would imagine almost never. But
Well,
it's
I don't
just,
know. I don't know how big Seattle is, but I mean, it is like it is. There is a lot of wildlife out there. Like, she's probably for the environment. That's probably why she's upset about this.
yeah.
But okay.
Well, I mean, honestly, there's not like, if you're a hunter, you still have to abide by the rules of what you can take. So it's not really gonna.
Oh yeah, right. There's laws and all that.
Yeah, there's
Mm-hmm.
laws, and there's also conservation. I don't see necessarily how hunters are impacting the environment, especially in places where deer and everything have become a nuisance. Because there aren't enough wolves. But regardless, like, this is really feeling like when she says conservative, she means man. Like anything that is remotely on the scale of manhood, even indifference to politics, can be very masculine. It's just like, I don't care. I just want to do my thing. And she's like, this is a bad, like, this, what I'm saying is this explains this kind of undercurrent of attraction that I'm picking up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's thinking really hard about this, and she's inventing this fleet of conservatives, aka masculine men, who are after her. And she's got very specific ideas of what they are and what they have. And it's like you were saying, what's the lore? Well, I think more like what is the tell? Like, here. Anyway, let's do the next one.
Okay. All right. Next one. Number 7. This is the last one. The oh so straight gentleman doth protest too much. This is the worst one, and it's the only one that's not a read. It's a confession. When a profile announces up at the top that, quote, only real/genetic women should message me, end quote, he's not responding to a live problem. I highly doubt trans women are flooding your inbox, Chad. He's telling you loudly where he stands on LGBTQ plus rights. That's not a dog whistle. That's a foghorn. That's a man who organized his entire opening line about exclusion. And here's the thing, a man who doesn't respect queer people doesn't respect women either. The tell is the same tell. There's no translation needed. He did the work for you. How about, I want to have children and dudes can't do that? How about, I like pussy? I don't like cock. How about that? Is that wrong to have that preference? Is that,
I highly doubt
is that
trans
a
women are
wild
flooding-
concept? Yeah, now she's
No, it's
also
not.
well, you know what she's doing there when she says, I highly doubt trans women are flooding your inbox, chat. She's signaling to any trans people that might watch it. They might read
But
this and they'll be
also,
like, you go, girl. You know I wouldn't do that. You know? So,
I find it very hilarious that a woman who has spent however many words describing this invisible fleet of conservatives who are trying to sneak into her DMs is like saying that about trans women sneaking into these conservatives' DMs, right? Like,
yeah.
that's just it. I just find that sort of a funny juxtaposition. All right, so are we done with this?
I
Oh no,
mean, this
it
is just
continues.
like her wrap up. I mean, okay, the
Oh yeah,
through
let's do
line.
it.
Okay, fine. The through line on all this is omission. Almost none of these men will type the word conservative or Republican or MAGA. They've internalized that the label costs
Wait,
them
but didn't
matches.
they just Christian?
No,
Like,
I mean, yeah, saying you're Christian is like she's gonna say that by it's not saying you're Christian. It's not saying you're Christian, but like maybe it comes out in other ways. Because she's
I
saying
think,
that a person who admits that they're Christian but is progressive will admit they're Christian in a dating profile, but then get ahead of it and say, "I am Christian, but I am not." Like I'm one of the
yeah,
good
but then what
Christians.
I'm saying is that the saying that you're Christian doesn't need to be coded. It's simply you're the plain Christian who has the plain Christian values. So that's the conservative values. She's trying to say that that's a conspiracy. Someone saying I'm a Christian is a conspiracy. Oh, they could
Mm,
secretly be a conservative. No, it's a good guess that they are conservative to a degree, right?
yeah,
I think there are more conservative religions than Christianity, my friend, but regardless. Um but my point is that this is imagining a conspiracy. And
mm-hmm.
most of this is just men simply saying, and of course she's also saying that men who hunt are conservative. What's the likelihood that a man with a buck or with guns in his bio is a liberal, right? He's
Right.
probably said he's a conservative.
He
So
might. I mean, I don't
she's
think.
constructing this idea
Mm-hmm.
that conservatives are so enticed by her and other women in her political bloc that they're pretending to be moderates or indifferent,
Or liberal.
and they're not saying they're conservative, but they say, yeah, I got guns. They're not saying they're
Yeah.
conservative, but they're like, yeah, I hunt animals. They're not saying they're conservative, they're just saying, yeah, I'm a Christian. And she's constructing this idea that they're hiding who they are,
Yeah. No,
so
I know.
that they're gonna secretly jump out and be like, yeah, I with a sack, and be like, you're
Yeah.
married to
She's
me now.
she's gonna wake up
Like,
the morning after, and he's like, "Aha! Gotcha! You just banged a conservative." Now get out of here. Um. Anyway, let me
oh
finish
god,
this
yeah,
last thing. I just
let's
want to get
finish the
through it.
wrap up.
Okay. They've internalized that the label costs them matches, so they've gotten fluent in saying it without saying it, which means the skill you develop is reading the gap, the thing that's conspicuously not countersignaled, the identity assembled out of parts that each individually mean nothing and collectively mean everything. None of this is foolproof. This is her doing the, plausible deniability thing. People are more than their bios, but a profile is a document a person built on purpose, choosing every photo and every word and the things they choose to put in it, and the obvious things they choose to leave out are information. The whole point of a profile is to tell you who someone is before you've met them. The good ones are telling the truth. So are the rest. You just have to know the language. Well, I guess at the very least she acknowledges that men are telling the truth, but I don't know. They're
Okay,
just hiding
so
shit. Yeah.
the only men who could possibly ever date these women are ones who just, well, also who are okay with having sex with trans women. Okay, all right, let's be honest there. Right, you got to be okay with that, the penis, and presumably not femboys, trans women, right? Because femboys are probably too conservative for her. But
Yeah.
anyway, so this you have to be okay with trans women, not just okay with, yeah, you live their life, whatever. You have to be willing to have sex with trans women. Okay. You cannot be a moderate, and you cannot be non-committal. You have to commit to every single one of her virtue signaling political positions. You cannot hunt, right? That's a non-starter. You cannot have guns, and if you are a Christian, you can't have you can't have Christian values. You have to have her values. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So essentially what she wants is either a man who is, well, she wants a man who's not custodial, but she wants one who signals all of her concerns, like he virtue signals everything, and shows absolutely no indication that he has any custodial masculine qualities whatsoever. Like, he can't value God, faith, and country, God, family, and country, which is basically, like, for men, God is what? God is a set of external standards. Like, it's an ethic. And it's like Brian said, it's something higher than yourself to keep yourself humble. So it's a focus on an action and an ethic. And country is being able to defend a territory, to provide for your family. And family is, of course, protection and provision of the people you love. These are all custodial orientations. And she's like, nope, he can't signal that. Or he can't say that that's what he wants. Or if he does say that, then he's a secret conservative. Don't date him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so he disqualifies himself for having an ethic, for wanting to protect and provide for his loved ones, and wanting to do it in a country that's intact, so he can. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is basically just saying a man wants to be a man. That's bad. Don't date him. Okay?
Yeah.
And also a man can't want custodial complementarianism. Right? And she reads into that he isn't even though he wants a traditional relationship, he doesn't want to provide his half of it, which that's reading into it. And and then that's not actually specifically calling him a conservative. It's basically calling him a grifter, or not a grifter, but a parasite. So he just wants what do they call it? A bang maid, right? So anyway, but that's like not wanting the other half of this whole complementarian relationship. And then
Mm-hmm.
country music plus sleeveless gym photos plus bicep flex is physical capacity display. It's partly custodial, partly, correlate, wanting to be attractive to women. So if he displays, the thing that has been selected for by female hominids for the last however many million years, which is a man's physical capacity. And there's some interesting things behind why men have that capacity and why it is what it is, because it's quite a bit distinct from chimps, which are supposedly our closest genetic relatives. Oh God, I'm about to go into a rabbit hole, guys. Maybe I shouldn't. I
Oh,
shouldn't. Okay. I
okay.
should not. I'll go
Yeah,
walk
we have
away
a
from the
lot
rabbit hole.
to get through here. So
Oh,
I just want to say one thing that I noticed about this that's interesting to me. Men don't generally on dating apps. I used to be on a dating app like a long time ago. I was on some, and I even got a couple of dates back then. I was on Plenty of Fish and OkCupid. But men generally, and maybe life things have changed, but men generally don't put anything political on their dating apps. They just put things that they think like would get them the attention of a woman that potentially wants to date them for, whether it's short term. I think most of the time it's long term. With when men, so like women, I think women are way more likely to put out all of their beliefs and their I don't know what it is that they care about the most, or whatever their belief system out there. But men don't. They're more like, you know, um, I want kids, and I want to, I'm working towards a relationship. Oh, I want to see where this is going. I want to go on an adventure, whatever it is. Just, but nothing like when she says that they're not saying anything about their politics. It's like weird because I don't think men do that generally. Like they don't, and like they don't talk about, because that's not important. Like at the end of the day, you're just building your life in your little part of the world, like your tiny slice of heaven, whatever it is. And so like all the other stuff that's happening around you, you don't have that much control over. And men like to operate in the realms that they have the most control. So that's like the smallest orbits, right? This woman, and it's something I notice about women and liberals more broadly, they want you to care about everything, everywhere, all the time at the same level. Like they want you to care about. Oh, that's why they're like space rocks and bacteria, like there it's on the same level. It's like every animal is just as precious as every human being. I think that if you don't, first of all, it's an impossible standard to meet. Nobody can do that. It's not the way we work, and it just doesn't plan out that way anyway. They just say it as a sentiment, but it's not even true. Not even for them. So
no.
When
Well,
but it's a sentiment,
It's a
Yeah,
sentiment. It's about having the sentiment. It's not about doing anything.
No, it's just about signaling. It's that's all it is. It's I remember what was it, the video I saw a clip from with Dr. Hannah Spire, who has been doing interviews with MRA. She talked to Janice and Tom Golden and James Nuzzo, and she was talking with another woman whose name I can't remember, and she said that, like Gad Saad, if you don't know who Gad Saad is, but I don't know, he's like an evolutionary biologist or psychologist or something, but he wrote a book about suicidal empathy. And we've talked a little bit about it on the news show, and I think on HPR Talk, because we disagree with the idea that this is suicidal empathy. It is not. It is, and this is how this guest described it. She said it is homicidal virtue signaling, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
It is not suicidal empathy because there is no empathy there. It's not for anyone else. The person is just saying what they think is going to get them more kudos, what's going to get them more, likes on social media or favorability, or people will think of them fondly. It's for them. It's selfish. But it's presented as, empathetic to yeah, but it's homicidal virtue signaling, and it doesn't actually mean anything good at all. It's completely hollow. And there's so that's what this woman is doing. She's like, if you don't care about these things, but she's literally saying all this stuff and actively trying to sabotage any woman that's younger than her, that has prospects, that might even be seeing someone, try to sabotage that person out of a healthy relationship by using this list of red flags or whatever. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, I think at this point it might have changed. I think men might be actually clarifying their politics, but who knows? The thing that I wanted to point out is that homicidal virtue signaling.
Yeah.
That's what when we were talking about the string theory woman, or the string fingers. Remember?
Cyberfeminism woman?
Cyberfeminism woman? Yeah, remember I talked about the moral circle analysis that she was doing?
Yeah.
Which is the Martian space rocks. The function of that is to create the largest possible outgroup. So homicidal virtue signaling is exactly right.
Yeah.
Because what it enables is hostility and aggression to the maximal amount of people. Right? That's what it does. It's actually weaponized empathy, or not weaponized virtue signaling.
Yeah, it's not even empathy. Like I said, there's no love in them. There's no love.
It's weaponized virtue signaling. And here's how it's incompatible with like a masculine orientation. Right? So vasopressin is very specific. This specific woman, these specific children, this specific community, this specific nation, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
This specific company, right? So when men bond, they want to protect and provide for specific people. And that is often incompatible with this, let's all give our love to Martian rocks, right? Let us love all things equally and none of them. And it's incompatible because that kind of mentality wants to be able to protect and provide for something constrained and doable, because it's focused on action. It's focused on saying, this is how I protect and provide for my people. And in order to actually say, oh, let's feel love for Martian space rocks, or cyber organisms of the future, or all of this other stuff, you have to decouple your empathy and your desire to protect and provide from an action, because you can't take any action for space rocks. You have to turn it entirely into a signal with no action component. And if you ask men, who are very much about having an action, having an external standard, knowing that action is affecting a positive outcome in the world, building, maintaining, protecting, you're asking them to act against their nature. Do you see what I'm saying, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah, because men want to see, like, they want concretes. Okay, how do if we're going to help the Martian space rocks, what are the metrics? You know, how do
Well, they
I do
don't.
that? How do my
Yeah,
actions benefit him?
they don't
Right?
actually
And
want to do anything, though. They just want to
no, they don't
say
want
they
to do
want to
anything.
do. No.
They just want to say, and that
Yeah.
is against what I'm saying is that is against that kind of masculine custodial nature. They
Yeah.
want to know how to. They want to know what are the metrics? Like
Yeah. It's
what's the
like.
action?
Yeah, it's like when I was talking to Natty, and I was just like, "What do you want us to do?" And she
Yeah,
didn't want to answer the question because it wasn't about that. It was about like, are you saying the right things? Are you not even believing the right
signaling the
things?
right
Like I
things.
can just say the things that she wants me to say, and I be in the clear. Except that I don't want to say
Hmm.
it because I don't believe it. So you know,
But
it's
you don't
it.
want to believe it, but you don't
No,
want to say it because you don't want to believe it because you want the things that you say to be consistent with the things that you do,
yeah, they
right?
want it to be consistent with reality. Like
That's
I
masculinity.
yeah,
Like literally that is being a man,
yeah,
right? That right there is being a man. So when this woman says the only way that men are going to be dateable is if they start spouting off virtue signaling that they know as men, because this is the mentality that passes the waterline test, right? They know as
hmm,
men is completely divorced from reality, then either they're liars or they're sociopaths. Well,
yeah,
actually both, honestly. Either they don't have this custodial orientation, which is to say they want to know what they need to do. Like, how do you help the Martian space rocks? If there's nothing operational in that, it's just a virtue signal. I don't know how to. It's like exactly what you said. It's like, Natty, what are we supposed to do? How do I
hmm,
relate this to my actions? She doesn't understand it because she's a woman. She thinks that just saying the thing is enough. Men
yeah,
don't. They're like, no, we have to do the thing. And what this woman is doing is she's constructing a landscape where the only people who are dateable are not men.
yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
yeah,
They're guys who can be like, well, I want you to give up, kiss the Martian space rocks. I want you to virtue signal about the Martian space rocks. And then the guys who will say, sure, whatever. Who are they? They're the ones who don't have a custodial orientation. They don't have to operationalize their empathy. They don't have to know what to do, right, for the Martian space rocks before they can say that they feel empathy for them. The custodial orientation, they don't care. They don't have that. So men
hmm,
without a custodial orientation, they don't care about anything. They don't really care about anything, so it's just words to them. Or men who are lying and just willing to, vomit out some virtue signaling because they think they can crack, right? Like, and or you get the progressive men who just don't, I don't know, they're just not very attached. Not progressive men, but you know what I mean.
yeah,
These Hugo Schwartzers of the world. And it's like, what are you selecting for, lady? You're literally putting up a firewall, and the only people who can go through it are sociopaths and narcissists, and men you don't find desirable. I mean, they might be completely harmless because they're not actually like sociopaths or narcissists. They're just guys who really think compassion is about virtue signaling and crying on command. But you're not going to find those men attractive because they don't act like men. And to be honest, they're probably happier with another man. So what are you doing? I mean, this is
yep,
the frustration that these women are creating for themselves. They have evolved to want a particular type of mentality. It's that being seen thing that they constantly talk about. Well,
hmm,
who's going to see them? Who's going to see the specific person they are? A man who is emotionally bonded to them. So they're constantly saying, I want to be seen, aka, I want a man who loves me. And then they're putting up firewalls in which any man with the required nature to do that, what they want, can't get through. And then they're just like frustrated because all they get is narcissists and sociopaths and men they're not attracted to. Like, and she's setting this up for another generation of women. Like, she probably ruined her own life with this, and now she's like, she is delivering the curse to another generation of women. Like, and
Yep.
that's what's really, and this is exactly what this field, the psychology of men and masculinities, is built. It's built this firewall. Women now are giving men a shit test that is essentially, are you a sociopath or are you undesirable to me? You are the only two categories that can get through the door.
Yeah.
Oh God!
Should we
I
move
mean, this
on?
is just this is
Yeah.
some serious level of fuckery.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, we okay. Let's move on.
Let's move on. Okay, so we're gonna do. Well, that's the end of this article. So I should do the eight things men say in their dating profiles. Is that what you want to do, or
Yeah, sure. No,
all
yeah,
right?
no,
What
not that one. The weak men one. That's
a
the
female test that
manosphere solution to this.
exposes weak men? I thought
Yes,
this was
that's
the
the
one that you were gonna use as a, I don't know, like the anchor for the other two, or
no.
no?
This is the next one. This the other like the eight one.
Mm-hmm.
Merely indicates that she's capable of understanding the difference between virtue signaling and actions, but I don't think
Oh,
that's
this is the
even relevant.
same. This is the same woman.
Yeah, it's
Oh
the same
yeah,
woman.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
Dana
yeah,
DB. Yeah. All right, let's
yeah.
go to the female test. This is somebody else, but okay. This is a long one, and I hate the way it's written. But I do have a summary. But let's look at some of it. Look at how this is written. Look at these spaces. It's like a children's book. All right. It's like Where the Wild Things Are, but no good art to admire. The female test that exposes weak men. So that's interesting. Right off the bat, we have the is it the flip side of the other one? Most men
Yeah,
believe
it's the flip
attraction.
side.
It's the flip side.
Flip side.
Okay.
It's
This
okay. So
yeah.
literally, this is what's happening, guys. She has been trained, and this has come down from feminism through the psychology of men and boys field, and all of their influence, and they have a lot of it. Right? They
Yeah.
got fingers all the way up pedagogy's ass. But
Yeah.
this woman has been trained to select for men who are not custodial, like who do not bond. And it's more than just this article. I mean, she's a feminist, so she believes that heterosexuality is the site of female oppression. What does that mean? That means that the only thing a woman can max, right, is who she is oppressed by. She is not going to choose an average man in that circumstance. She is going to choose the best man she can, or she's going to completely avoid it entirely. Thus, the constantly moving target that keeps getting smaller. And that is a direct, rational response to being told that men oppress women and that the site of heterosexuality is a site of oppression. Okay? The idea that men's commitment is a net negative, that when a man commits to you, you are being made a fool of, creates a situation where men can't commit. Right? So they can't actually build relationships because they have to constantly induce FOMO, fear of missing out, in any relationship that they have with a woman. All right? So these are
Yeah.
factors that women like this are constructing. This is the firewall being developed in dating that men have to somehow deal with. And then there was a third one, but that covers hypergamy, that covers the fear of missing out, etc. But anyway, they construct this firewall. Women like this construct this firewall based on things that they've learned and been trained into. And then men have to deal with this firewall to try to continue to perpetuate the human race. And men like Kieran are trying to tell men how to deal with being this man that this woman is selecting for. And she's telling other women to select for, because this is like, she's beyond her prime. She's 50 years old, right? Now, what she's doing is she's trying to put this curse on the next generation. Anyway, so
Yeah.
this is Kieran explaining how men can overcome, not overcome, but just become hollowed out so that they can appeal to women like the women that this woman is tainting.
Is
All right,
Kieran a man?
Yes, I think so. Although his writing style is pretty.
Okay. Well, yeah, okay. So this might be a man. Kieran Brown, The Man Manual. So yeah, I'm guessing it is. All right, well, here we go. More cringe, but on the flip side. Most men believe attraction is won or lost by saying exactly the right thing. They obsess over opening lines, text messages, body language, whether they smiled too much, whether they waited too long before replying, whether they complimented her too early. But after spending years coaching men, approaching thousands of women myself, and interviewing people from every walk of life, I've become convinced that one of the biggest killers of attraction has almost nothing to do with what comes out of your mouth. It has everything to do with what happens after she says something that makes you uncomfortable. See, every man has experienced it. A woman laughs at him, questions his confidence, teases him, makes a cheeky comment, says something that on the surface almost sounds rude, and immediately he starts wondering, did she just reject me? Maybe, but maybe not. During one of my recent interviews, I ended up explaining a concept that men ask me about constantly inside my coaching program. Some call them shit tests, some call them confidence tests, some don't even believe they exist. Regardless of what label you want to put on them, understanding this one psychological pattern could completely change the way you interpret your interactions with women. Because once you understand what you're actually looking at, you'll stop sabotaging yourself. In the interview above, I explain exactly what happened during a real conversation I had with two women several years ago. At one point, one of them looked at me and asked, "How many social media followers have you got?" I told her I had around 1,000. Without missing a beat, she smiled and said, "What? That's rubbish." Now, if you only hear those words, it sounds like she's trying to embarrass me. But that's exactly why I want you to watch the video. Pay attention to her imagined delivery, pay attention to the smile, pay attention to what I explain afterwards. The words aren't the story, the psychology. God, why is it written like this? I hate this. See Jack run. Run, Jack, run. This isn't AI. This is worse. Most men completely misunderstand what's happening in moments like these, and because of that, they react in exactly the wrong way. That's what destroys the attraction. Not the comment itself, the reaction. Are you ready? Here come the pain. You mean here comes the pain? Alright.
Grammar is a patriarchal standard, Brian.
Yeah. Most men think every challenge is rejection. No, I don't think that's true. But whatever. One of the biggest mistakes I see men making is assuming every uncomfortable interaction means a woman dislikes them. She teases him, he assumes she's rejecting him. She questions him, he thinks he's failed. She gives him a little bit of attitude, he immediately begins trying to convince her that he's actually a good guy. The conversation turns into an interview. Now compare that to what I asked during the interview. I don't see the video, but I'm not going to worry about it, whatever. I said something to along the lines of, have you ever been out with your friends and some bloke comes over trying to impress everyone and one of your friends says something like, I don't date short guys, or you're too old, or why don't you buy me a drink? Almost every woman has witnessed something like that. The important thing is that these comments are often delivered with a grin. They're playful, cheeky, almost theatrical. They're not necessarily trying to get rid of him, they're seeing what kind of man they've got standing in front of them. That's a completely different interaction. She's interested, but she's not sold. One thing I explained in the conversation is that people misunderstand why these...
Do you notice...
what?
Do you notice there's something going on here? There's no back and forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the man isn't actually judging whether or not the woman is worthy of investment in a relationship.
Being approached in the first place, yeah.
Of being, well, not just being approached, but that her behavior needs to be judged as well. Like that he has a right to not necessarily warm to her immediately. So what he's creating is a situation where men have no right to, or not no right, but he's basically saying if you're reserved, if you're judging her behavior, if you're determining whether or not she's worthy of your attention, right? That's not the way that you want to go. Right? What's happening here is there's a certain type of behavior that women engage in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sort of challenging behavior to men, and if they have the ability to do this because they're judging whether or not the man is worthy of anything, and men themselves you cannot behave in any kind of standoffish way. or any kind of discerning way. You have to basically be entertaining, right? And roll with the punches. And I guess that's fine. That's fine if that's what you want for the rest of your life. But let's keep going.
All right, I got a super chat. Zeranx gave us 5 and said, Kieran's opener would probably work if you read it as though he was in the middle of an action sequence before the scene cuts to a languid interaction. All right, thank you for that. She's interested, but she's not sold. One thing I explained in the conversation is that people misunderstand why these tests happen in the first place.
Oh, okay. I got it. I got it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I got it. She's interested, but she's not sold. So the assumption here is that we're not having a meeting or a
interview.
We're not having a date where the man also has to be sold. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like sold on this woman.
Oh, of course.
And who she is.
Yeah.
Right. So the presumption here is that you are there to simply provide whatever it is she wants, as opposed to discern whether or not she's a good partner. That's not actually that's not a situation where you're constructing the foundation for a relationship. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like if this first date, she's doing this bullshit, and I guess just seeing if you'll roll with the punches, right? What is that? Like what are you constructing here? Right? She's saying that she's just discerning whether or not you're worth. Well, where's the room for him to discern whether or not she's worth it? Right? Like I think that's the big problem with what, like Peter Wright talks about romantic love, is that it completely omits the man's right to be discerning too. At least the modern iteration of it does.
Yeah.
Like, the previous iteration of it, with Christian Northern European Christian the Northern European Christian societies, there would be discernment. Right? There would be some element of she has to, be past the bar of the family, and she has to bring something to the relationship. But here, the assumption here is that he is simply there to entertain a woman who likely has had a way too comfortable life, has no V1A activation, so her bonding is already impaired, and then she's got worm tongue here. What's her name? Dana? Whispering in her ear, right? And then a man has to go to that and be like, okay, I gotta be entertaining to this person. Like, okay, let's keep going.
All right. So, one thing I explained in this conversation is that people misunderstand why these tests happen in the first place. Imagine you meet Leonardo DiCaprio or Brad Pitt or whoever women collectively decide is irresistible this week. You're already sold. You don't need any more information. Likewise, if a homeless bloke who hasn't showered in 2 months starts chatting you up, you're probably not interested either. Again, no test. The interesting place is in the middle. She's intrigued, she likes you, but she isn't completely convinced yet. That's where uncertainty lives. And uncertainty naturally creates testing. It's exactly like a job interview. If an employer already knows you're perfect, they don't interview you. The interview only exists because they're gathering information. Dating works remarkably similarly. The difference is that instead of asking, can you use Microsoft Excel, attraction asks questions emotionally. Can this man handle pressure? Does he believe what he's saying? Or is his confidence only skin deep? Should I keep going?
Okay. No, because we need to discuss this.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, we're talking about a date. All right, that's not what she's going to discern from this. What she's going to discern from this is whether or not he gives a crap about it. Right? And what she's going to find is men who pass these stupid tests don't. They'll just say whatever it takes. They don't have anything on the table. They don't have anything to risk. So they're not going to be worried if she starts behaving in an erratic and nasty manner, because they're just willing to say whatever it takes to hit it and quit it. So she's pre-selecting for this. This particular interview in a date context does not select for men who are custodial or competent. It only selects for men who are fluent verbally. I want people to think about that. Men who are fluent verbally often don't have a custodial channel, right? So the way that you might want to look at this is imagine your mind, with an average man who has a normal level of vasopressin, things like situational awareness, proprioceptive awareness. So that's the readiness, the ability to be ready to deal with anything that comes through, like any danger, being aware of the exits, that kind of stuff. Just the custodial monitoring that men engage in. I've recently watched a skit. Maybe you saw this one too, Brian. It was a comedian who was talking about the mental load that women have, and he was a father, and he has to imagine the 750,000 ways that his kids could be harmed,
Yeah.
and always be aware of the have sight lines to all of the exits and potential entrances that brigands could use to come in effect, that kind of thing. Like this is a male thing. If you have working vasopressin, you're probably more aware of your surroundings and any potential threats and any
Mm-hmm.
potential vectors that threats could come in on. And if you have dependence, you're going to be more aware. That's you imagine it like a superhighway, right? If a man has this fully equipped with a vasopressin hormonal system, he's got a superhighway when it comes to monitoring threat, making sure that he's ready on a subconscious level for potential threat, right? So that's that proprioceptive
Yeah.
sense. Making sure, one, is there anything here threatening someone? Two, can I cause problems by inaction? So does anybody need my help? And three, am I actually causing harm to anyone? Physical harm. So that's monitoring his own physicality, because men are fairly substantially stronger than everybody else in society, right? That's a superhighway of information that is not verbal, right? So if a man has that normal amount of custodial information, that line of custodial information going through his brain, he's not going to have as much room for the verbal channel, especially like not in a stressful situation, which meeting a stranger usually is. That's going to even have less. He's going to be even more
Mm-hmm.
inclined to be monitoring potential threats, right? So, and right by this superhighway, which is custodial information, okay, there is the dirt lane track, which is the verbal channel. All right. Now, what this woman is selecting for in this instance is a man with those two things reversed, if he even has a dirt lane track devoted to the custodial instinct. So, in other words, what she's selecting for is a man whose verbal channel is 5-lane superhighway, and his custodial channel, if he even has one, is a fucking deer path through the woods that you can't even find on a map. What do you think the difference between these two men is? Okay? One is a man who is going to protect and provide for you. One is a man who's going to give a crap about you. Right? One is a man who might take a bullet for you in the case that some extremely horrific thing happens. The other is a man who has a huge facility with verbal. He can say whatever he wants because he's not particularly nervous about the fact he's meeting somebody who could potentially take a gigantic shit over every custodial instinct he has. That's just because he doesn't have any. He's got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Giant verbal channel, absolutely nothing to lose. Of course he's going to pass these frickin' tests. He's going to jump these hoops. And let me tell you, as long as this is the deciding factor for women, men with a giant verbal channel and absolutely no custodial channel are going to win. Hands down. And these guys these people call the natural alphas, you know why they have a giant verbal channel? Because half of what makes them a man is gone in their brain. They don't have vasopressin, or they don't have a normal amount. So everything reroutes into the female channels. That's their big strategy, is to act like a woman. And for whatever reason, women are really attracted to that. A verbally fluent man who just does the whole romantic comedy thing, the back and forth, the banter, the verbal fluidity. That's what they're selecting for. A guy who's half a man. Our alpha, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not gonna, the custodial dude who's sitting there being like, why are you asking me? Why are you making fun of my height? Because he has something to lose. He doesn't want to invest it in a woman who's casually mean. Some dude rushes through the door with a gun. He might actually do something about it. The guy with the giant verbal channel is going to hide behind her or run off pissing himself. These are not alpha dudes. And this entire freaking shit test is degrading the species because she is selecting for the guy whose big contribution to the human race is being able to emulate a woman's mind. And he's able to emulate a woman's mind because he doesn't have a man's mind. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay, let's jump this hoop. Let's all become the men that these women want. And again, if you still have a custodial, like if you have your custodial superhighway, right, you're always going to move slower on that dirt road than the man who has the verbal superhighway, like a woman. The man who has a woman's mind. You're never going to move as fast. You're always going to be slower. So he's always going to win the verbal sparring match that this guy is talking about. As long as this is how we make our decisions, like women make their decisions on how they want the men that they want to have sex with, or they want to be partnered with, or they think they want to be partnered with, they're going to end up with the guys who can talk a good game. But if anything happens, they expect her to pick up the check. And that's not, what? If that's what women want, that's fine. But you're never going to be loved. This man's never going to give a crap about you.
Yep.
He can't. He doesn't bond. Like, men don't bond like women do. If you want a man to bond with you, you have to accept how men bond. Right? This guy's never going to bond with you. So he'll talk a good game. He'll do the verbal back and forth, the sociopathic style. He's got that down pat. Sociopathic style. Might as well just call it woman brain. He's got the woman brain down pat. He's never going to give a crap about you. This is what this is selecting for with women. It's why every single one of them have those sociopath or narcissistic ex, because they're selecting for it. And the dude who's just like, why are you insulting me, is left behind because he doesn't have that verbal superhighway to fall back on. And again, if this is how we are structuring our mating landscape as humans, we're devolving. But fine, let's see how Curran tells us to deal with it.
Yeah. Confidence isn't what you say. This is the bit most dating advice completely misses. Confidence isn't saying I'm alpha. Confidence isn't speaking loudly. Confidence isn't acting dominant. Confidence isn't emotional stability. When that woman laughed at my follower count, I imagined I'd replied, "What the hell? Why'd you say that? That's really rude." What would that communicate? It tells her that one sentence completely knocked me off balance. Now compare that with what actually happened. I simply laughed. "Yeah," I joked. "Nobody likes me. I've basically got no friends." Then I carried on talking. Notice something. I never defended myself. I never explained why my follower count didn't matter. I never tried proving I was successful. Because the followers were never the issue. The issue was whether I could stay relaxed under pressure. And that's a lesson that extends far beyond dating. Should I keep going?
I mean, it's not bad advice, but what it requires is not caring, right? And to treat this entire situation not as the foundation for discovering whether or not you can have a relationship, but just you don't care. Like, you don't care what her opinion is, right? When do you
Yeah.
start to care? And here's the problem is, if you don't care now, when do you start to care? And if you do start to care about the opinion of your woman, is that the moment the relationship ends? Do you see what I'm saying, Brian?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you transition from these initial stages where she can say whatever she wants, and you just either ignore it or lob it back at her with your 5 lanes of verbal superhighway. And when does it switch to you actually get the opportunity to say, hey, no, that actually hurts. Stop it.
Yeah. Do you get to say that?
Do you get to say that at any point, right? Or how about don't do that to our kids? It hurts them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get to say that? Huh? Okay. Well, let's keep
All
going.
right. The part almost everyone misses. Here's something I've noticed after coaching countless men. The men who struggle most aren't usually lacking techniques, they're lacking self belief. If deep down you already think you're not good enough, every playful comment confirms your fears. You're short, that hurts. You're bald, that hurts. You're older, that hurts. You're broke, that hurts. Every joke feels personal because you're already fighting yourself. That's why self esteem matters so much. The more secure you become internally, the less external comments have the power to shake you. It's like water rolling off a duck's back. That's the exact analogy I used. Not because you're pretending not to care, because you genuinely don't. Before I explain the biggest lesson, watch this next section. I don't have the video here, so.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, do you have, is it just the article? You don't have the
yeah,
video?
it's just the article. It doesn't show the video. I
Yeah,
don't know
you
if
know
the
what? We
video is
don't really need,
important. I don't think we need it, right?
no, I don't think we need
So,
it.
because
But
he
I just,
basically tells you what's in the video anyway. So, but
mm-hmm.
go ahead.
Well, I mean, just, okay, so you are supposed to not care. How do you fall in love if you don't care?
Yeah.
Like, how long can you sustain this not caring? Can you sustain this not caring while you fall in love with a woman? Is that how it, is that possible? I don't know. I'm not a man. Does that seem possible, Brian?
To not no. I think men want. Well, that's the thing too. This guy's. I don't know, man. He's missing like
No, he's not though. Okay, he's
what?
not. Okay, I'm sorry to contradict you, but he is accurate about what men need to
No, I
be in
know, but
order
it's
to.
that's not the part I'm saying that he's wrong about. The problem is that this stuff is all useful if you are engaging with a woman that is worth that time because this is actually a lot of work. So why would you do that if the woman is of low quality? Why would you do that if you don't know whether or not the woman is worth the time and effort? And so like this article, just like basically most male dating coaches, the Alex Sykes of the world, they basically operate under the presumption that all women are worthy right off the bat. And that like you don't need to vet them. You don't need to know what their values are. You don't need to wonder, do you have daddy issues? You don't need to wonder, are you in a cult? Are you a radical feminist? Whatever, right? How many babies do you have? Like, do you have kids with other men? Like, what? Like, do you like whatever? Like, none of that seems to be a part of this. It's all just like the woman is there. You have to earn that, like right off the bat. That's what I mean when my issue with this is that all this is useful if you're gonna be like using it on someone that actually like has a heart and isn't just gonna try and like abuse you in front of her friends to like score some points. So that's what I mean.
And my question is, when does it switch? Like, if you're just
Yeah.
supposed to roll with the punches, okay, fair enough. Is there a point at which this stops? And that seems to be the most dangerous point of all. Like, if you can, as a man, if you can manage to work that dirt road into like a maybe like a paved highway, and you manage to do this, and again, you're competing against men with absolutely no custodial interests, so they're working off of full super lane 5 lane highway. Um, if you do that, and then you get to the point where you actually start to care about her opinion, doesn't that sound like it's a really dangerous point?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have attracted her because you don't care about her opinion, and you are able to do this verbal jousting even when she's mean. What happens when you do start to care about her opinion? What happens to the relationship when you start demanding that she not be an asshole? Are you able to keep that relationship? Does she say, "Oh, you've become boring," or, "Oh, I don't know, the love you've changed." You
Yep.
see what I'm saying, Brian?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
what happens when you have something to lose with this woman? When what she says does hurt? Do you just keep doing this for the rest of your life? Like Brian is saying,
Yeah.
it sounds like it's really tiring for
Yeah.
somebody who doesn't ever really care about you. Somebody who would never say, if you said, "Hey, that hurts," she'd say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way." Right? Who'd actually take responsibility for her effect on you. So, and again, like, how do you transition from being a, I don't know, a quip monkey to being an actual husband who has to have some standards for his wife's behavior? Okay,
Hmm?
let's keep going.
Okay. The more secure you become internally. Oh, no, I read that part. In the video above, I also explained something that gets ignored far too often. Pay attention to how we discuss whether these tests are even conscious. The woman I'm speaking to openly admits she can't remember deliberately testing men, and that's precisely the point. These behaviors are often subconscious. People love imagining dating as some elaborate chess match where everyone has a secret strategy. Real life isn't like that. Human beings respond emotionally long before they analyze logically. That's why attraction often appears irrational. People don't consciously decide every tiny behavior. Much of it simply happens. The difference between a test and a rejection. Now here's where men really get themselves into trouble. They hear one
Okay, can we
sentence.
stop for a sec?
Yeah.
Can we stop for a sec?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and the other thing is that this situation, this is why I say that the dating landscape is not, it's not, it's not constructed. It's basically a giant handicap for men
Mm-hmm.
because it's expecting them to display the way women do, and it's expecting them to engage the way women do, right? And he's saying that these shit tests determine if a man is competent. No, they don't. They determine if he has access to woman brain. You know, the giant 4-lane highway of verbal repartee.
Yeah.
What would test if he's incompetent is actually him being competent, like him demonstrating skill or a technical craft or being reliable. None of that comes through a dating landscape, like the current dating marketplace. The men don't have the opportunity to demonstrate that. And attraction, like, again, attraction is much more about like MHC compatibility and kin selection than it is about any of these other factors, which are also you don't get through the dating landscape. Well, you don't spend, like, I don't know, a couple hours smelling your potential partners, and
Mm-hmm.
and then there's all the social factors against a woman selecting for kin selection. So what that means is um people will tend to be attracted to a person who looks like their kin but smells like they have a different, like a compatible immunoprofile, which means that they have a different one. But if a woman does that, selects on those factors, she runs the gamut of the sisterhood telling her that, oh, he's not attractive, he's boring, right? Of undermining who she has
Yeah.
selected. Okay, none of this, like all of this is a handicap that men have in the current dating landscape. And none of this is addressed by what he's saying. And again, if a man can actually jump over these bars, what does he get at the end of the day from all of this? And this is something that I've seen a lot of young men saying. They're exhausted. Because if they even manage to get a woman, it never ends. Because if he starts to soften towards her, you know, which is sort of inevitable for men, you know, they hang
Yeah.
around a woman, you know, they do sexual things with her, eventually they're going to sort of soften towards her and not be able to do all this like hard edge verbal repartee and I don't give a fuck about you. You know, get your things and get out. Your hour and a half is over. That kind of thing to induce her FOMO so that she feels like he's worth her time, we can inevitably soften towards what happens then. What happens when he can no longer induce the FOMO? And even if he manages to keep it, what has he got at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Somebody who's going to bounce the moment she realizes that he has made a genuine emotional commitment to her, that he's in any way vulnerable to her, because he's become boring. All right, okay, let's keep going. I know it's a fairly long article.
Yeah, the difference between a test and a rejection. Now, here's what men get themselves into trouble. They hear one sentence and immediately assume every woman is testing them. No, sometimes she genuinely isn't interested. So how do you tell? One of the biggest clues in emotion is emotion. During the interview, I explained that genuine rejection usually doesn't come with warmth. If she's genuinely offended, you'll know. If she wants you gone, you'll know. There's very little playfulness, very little smiling, very little curiosity. If she's smiling while saying something slightly provocative, that's completely different. The words might sound harsh, the emotion doesn't. And emotion always tells the bigger story.
Okay, fair enough. He's explaining how flirting works.
Yeah, sure. The 6
that's
foot
not too bad.
Yeah, the 6'9" analogy explains everything. One of my favorite examples from the conversation had nothing to do with dating. I asked the woman to imagine we're walking down the street. A man who's 6'9", built like a brick wall, walks over and slaps her on the backside. How do I react? Or no, how do I react? Probably anger or fear. Now imagine the same exact thing happens. Only this time, the bloke is 3 feet tall and built like a stick insect. Same action, same intention. Completely different emotional response. Why? Because I don't perceive him as a genuine threat. I laugh, and everyone around me would probably think, Kieran's got this handled. That is exactly how confidence works. Not forced, not performative, relaxed. That's how you should treat playful tests. Not because you're acting, but because you're emotionally unaffected. Stop looking for the perfect... Oh, I got a super chat. Hold on, let me just read this. Albatross
How
4920. How long
okay,
what?
Go ahead.
Do I do what for?
How long do you do this for? Like, you don't
This
care.
dance?
Okay.
Yeah. With all these hoops to jump through, I think I'd be happier just failing the shit test. Well, maybe failing the shit test is actually winning the shit test. Stop looking for the perfect comeback. Men constantly ask me, so what do I actually say? The truth? Almost anything. Seriously. There isn't one magical sentence. Sometimes agreeing works. Yeah, I'm ancient. Sometimes exaggerating works. I'm literally your granddad. Sometimes playful disagreement works. I'm 4 years old. I'm still wearing nappies. The actual words matter far less than the feeling behind them. What matters is that nothing she said knocked you off center. That's what people respond to. Authenticity, not rehearsed one-liners. Now's the perfect time. In the video above, don't just listen to what I'm saying. Watch the rhythm, watch the smiles, watch the pauses. Watch how humor completely changes the emotional tone of the conversation. Those are the things articles can never fully capture. You can read about confidence, but seeing someone remain calm, playful, and relaxed in real time teaches a completely different lesson. That's why I always encourage people to watch the interview after reading. You'll notice things you didn't even realize you were looking for. Final thoughts. This guy's really selling himself. By the way, he does sell himself, literally. So, one of the greatest lessons I've learned after years of studying attraction is that confidence isn't about impressing people. It's about remaining yourself when somebody tries to shake you. Sometimes that challenge comes from life. Sometimes it comes from another man. Sometimes it comes from a woman you're attracted to. The source doesn't matter. Your response does. If one playful comment completely changes your emotional state, then perhaps the work isn't learning better lines. Perhaps the work is becoming a man who no longer needs validation from every stranger he meets. Ironically, those are the men who tend to attract people most easily. Not because they're trying harder, because they're trying less. They're comfortable, grounded, playful, authentic. And those qualities can't be faked for very long. If you haven't watched the full interaction yet, do that now. Oh my god, this keeps going! In the interview above, you'll see far more than a conversation about dating. You'll see body language, timing, humor, natural reactions.
It's an ad!
Yeah. Get coached by me. It's right there at the bottom. And you'll notice the biggest lesson has nothing to do with social media followers, short men, old men, or clever comebacks. The biggest lesson is that attraction often reveals itself in the smallest moments. Most men never notice them. Now you will. Excelsior. Kieran. Okay. That was kind of painful. Just saying.
Yeah, it was.
So
Also, I think that if she's engaging in flirtatious back and forth, I assume you're past the stage of actual initial conversation, right? So, this is pretty advanced. I don't know. It just feels like, yeah, it's good to understand the difference between teasing, but if the
yeah,
counseling is that you just don't care, at some point you're gonna care, right? What happens then? Like, I understand that, the the writer that we read before this, Dana, she's basically saying men don't have a custodial nature. Just destroy it. Like, get rid of
sure,
it. Don't show it. Don't have it. Don't have the politics that a custodial nature would have. Like, no matter what, men who have that custodial nature, they want an environment where they can protect and provide for their families. Whether that's being an old union man or being somebody who wants to be able to run his business, right? Like, they still share that quality of, I want to have a wage and I want to be able to protect and provide for my family. Of course, all that is all just conservative masculine politics now. And she's saying, don't be that. Just hollow it out. Virtue signal. Virtue signal. Care about the Martian rocks. Don't care about being able to afford a family, guys. Don't be able to care about protecting your family, guys. Don't care about a nation that allows you to protect and provide for your family. Those are conservative politics, aka masculine politics. All right? Just care about the Martian rocks. Virtue signal about things you can never do anything about. That selects against men with any custodial nature who need to know what to do. Like Brian was talking about with that argument with Natty or that debate with Natty. Like, he was like, what do I do? That's a man speaking. What do I do? Right? What do I do for the Martian rocks? How do I protect and provide for my family in a society that's falling apart? Right? Maybe the older values where the society wasn't falling apart, we should go back to that. That's the entirety of it. That's the entirety of men's political perspective. And again, it used to be that the left had some room for the old union guys who wanted a good job so they could provide for their families. Or even the frickin' communists, the Bernie bros, who just wanted a society where they had something that they could do that made sense to them. And they think communism is going to give them a job. That's the big difference between communist men and communist women, by the way. I mean, not all communist men. The communist men are communists because they want to get a job. They want the state to give them something to do, a purpose. Communist women want the state to give them stuff, which I don't know why they have a problem with the current state because it's already giving them stuff, but whatever, they want
yeah,
more stuff. That's the big difference. That's why communist men are in the front lines getting their freaking noggins pounded in. And the women are in the back saying, women hold up half the sky. Except when it matters, right?
mm-hmm.
Because that's a man. What do I do? How do I do it? How do I protect my family? And then this woman is basically saying, no, don't do that. You got a virtue signal. Your empathy and your desire to protect and provide has to be completely divorced from taking any kind of action. It just has to be a word. And she doesn't even realize that she is selecting for men who don't have a connection between the things they say and the things that they do. Either because they don't do anything or because they don't feel like they need to be consistent in that way. So she's selecting against men with any kind of custodial center, any kind of custodial being, just to say, get rid of that. And this dude is saying, well, this is how you demonstrate being a man with no custodial center, who doesn't care. Now, to a degree, recognizing flirtatious teasing is probably a skill that's worth pursuing. But the way that he frames it is, you don't care. Right? I don't care. Well, how long do you not care? Can you not care for the entirety of the time that you're married to a woman for like 30 years? Like, I don't care. Yeah, she can just walk off into traffic, get splattered. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, how long do you maintain that? And how do you maintain that realistically if you have a custodial nature? At some point, you are going to care very deeply. And this woman will now have the ability to do a lot of bad things to you. And you will have selected for a woman who's chosen you because you didn't care, because you gave the perception of not caring. And I don't know if this is something that men can fix. Because again, it's Dana Warmtongue here, whispering into women's ears, you want men who don't look like they care. If they look like they care, run away really fast. Like, what we
Mm-hmm.
really need is like the old aunts and like War and Peace who took Natasha aside and slapped her a few times and said, Anatoly doesn't give a crap about you. And this is what you need to look for. If you want a man who's actually going to care about you, who actually has that custodial 5-lane highway. Like you can't just follow the tingles. You actually have to know the signs. And the funny thing is that not only, honestly, the best outcome is that these women just get pumped and dumped by a sociopath who, wants to crack and also wouldn't mind stealing some stuff from their bank account. Maybe get a
Yeah.
kidney. Like that's the best outcome. The worst outcome is they find a sociopath who shoots them in a parking lot because they wanted to leave them. That she wanted to leave him. Because that's the other thing, the other type of man that this woman is getting these women to select. When she says, you don't want a man who looks like he cares. If he cares about anything, if he shows any desire to protect or provide, you want to run. Like, yeah, okay. So that, and again, like, sure, this guy can tell you as a young man how to pretend to look like you don't care, but at some point you are going to care a great deal. And then what? Well, you're gonna experience one of the horrible horsemen of the apocalypse that we talk about on here, because he's got you to select women who select men who don't care. And the moment they do care, the women are like, "Yeah, you're boring out." I've just the reason for divorce, I just lost that feeling, and I don't know, I just don't feel attracted to him anymore. Feeling bored. We grew apart. Reason for taking half his stuff and giving him a weekend a month with his children. We grew apart. I don't know. I just didn't feel it anymore. Like, and all because she's been told that the moment that he commits to her, she's a fool. So puts no value on his commitment. She doesn't see it as a positive thing. Like a man who's stepped up and been there with her for years. That is a good thing. That means he cares, and he's about the only person who's going to care that much for her that she will ever have in her life. Except maybe her dad, if she had one. Right? And she just throws it away. Why? Because worm-tongued feminism has told her that a man committing to her is making a fool out of her. That's the site of her oppression. She's a handmade pick-me. If she wants that, if she values that. But at the end of the day, when you're in year 10 of your relationship, that's the thing, that's the value that keeps it going. The man stayed. He stepped up. He continued to be there. And feminism tears down that value. So it's like this guy is like, okay, like lads, this is how you jump this bar. But is it what I really want to ask? All of this is, do men really want to jump that bar? Right? Do they really want for the rest of their lives to pretend that they don't care or try to not care? Right? And it's not even like I understand why you're doing it. But is this really the bar you want to jump? Like is the fruits of jumping this bar, that fantastic? And I know that's like I'm really black-pilled. But the alternative perhaps is to ask or to perhaps try to correct the record on men that feminist worm tongue has been whispering into women's ears, right? To start saying, hey, that's wrong. That's not actually the way men do and are, doing what we do, correcting the record on men. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have anything to add to that? I know I had a little rant there.
No,
Rant.
I mean, I'm yeah, sure, a little. No, I'm kind of like looking at the time, but I did get a super chat from Polaris and some Rumble rant from NovaFan, so I want to read those really quick. NovaFan gave us $1 and said, I know this goes beyond the intended scope and intent of the article, but I have a monkey wrench that is far too common. She films you and falsely accuses you. And then Polaris 589 gives us $5 and says, half of communists want to be poets, the other half want to be the secret police. All right, thank you for that.
Yeah, but if they're a man, they still want a job. Okay, keep going.
Yeah,
Hello?
no, that's it. That's it. I read all the super chats and stuff, so.
Yeah, I had other stuff I wanted to talk about, but I don't know. I thought it would be interesting to juxtapose these two. Because on the one hand, you have the feminists saying that men need to act like they need to be not men. Right? So they need to be able to virtue signal without translating that into action, which is not how men work. Like that 5-lane custodial highway, that's there to translate things into action and to reality. Right? It's why men pass the waterline test, because they take the symbol, they translate it into reality, and they see how the symbol interacts with reality. Right? Women stop at one step. Not all women, but a lot of women stop at one step. They just see the symbol. So they think that if you say, yeah, I too feel very passionately about the plight of the Martian rocks, they think that you are genuinely a compassionate man. Can you freaking believe that? Think about that, Brian.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. A man just says it. And oh yes, that's a true progressive man. Look at him. He's virtue signaling all the virtues I have, none of which have any kind of custodial component. But that's not a red flag to me, because I don't understand men for shit. God damn. Oh, anyway. All right. So if you're a guy who's really frustrated with this state of affairs, please consider supporting us. feedthebadger.com/support. Sorry, I screwed that up.
That's fine.
feedthebadger.com/support. And if you want to send us a message at any time after the show, anything that I said tickled your fancy, you are an individual who wants to spend $70 yelling at me and the rest of the HBR crew, you know who you are. And I know you're going to rage quit next week and then be back the week after. But you know what?
I haven't seen that person, to be honest, but go on.
Well, maybe it's going to be in like a month that he'll be back.
No, or he'll be at the Thursday show. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, here's another $70, guys. I hate you all. It's like Albert. Oh shit, I said his name. Anyway, everybody knows it. But anyway, if you want to send us a message, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And again, if you want to support the show, support our endeavors to correct the record on men. I know that guys are like, they want a thing to do to fix things. And this is a really intractable problem, because people like Kieran will tell you that the way you fix things is by hurdling the bars that women are setting up. But do you really want to? Like, is encouraging this situation the best way to go? And furthermore, what do you get if you actually hurdle that bar? Right? If you need an external standard to live up to, I'd like to offer a possibility, and maybe Brian can chime in if he thinks I'm full of shit. The reason why every man is here now is because he was selected for by a billion, increasingly less furry hominid females, right? So you're here because you were chosen, and your nature and your physicality evolved because you were chosen repeatedly, generation after generation after generation after generation. What women are doing now, or selecting for, the standards that they're holding men to, are a result of a completely artificial landscape of comfort that has never been seen in human history. Comfort to the point where they are basically deprived of certain inputs that hormonally prime them for pair bonding, to want to pair bond. And then in addition to that, we have feminist worm tongue whispering in their ears that men's commitment makes a fool of them, and that heterosexuality is the site of oppression, right? So the only thing you really can do is maximize who oppresses you. So go for Christian Grey, not Joe the Plumber. So we have this situation where their demands are beyond absurd, they're impossible, but they will also destroy the earth and cause the human race to evolve backwards. So maybe we don't want to set them as guidelines for anything. We just want to set them aside and ignore them. But I know that men still want a standard to live up to. We'll consider that standard to be what you are already, what you were selected to be, and maximize that. Hominid max, right? Maybe that will work better than trying to jump through this hoop, this insano hoop that is destructive. And again, if you want to support actually correcting the record of men, which might counter feminist worm tongue whispering in the ears of women, because the alternative is, tell the women what men actually are, what they're actually like, what they actually do, how they love, how they think, so that women understand how men express love and potentially realize that they don't have to spend $1 trillion a year on romance novels. The men in the park are free. Go get one. Right? If that sounds like a good thing to do, support us doing it. feedthebadger.com/support. And I will hand this back to Brian. To the Badger. Should I do the Badger Nation one too?
You go to badgernation.online, join a community. Okay, I gotta go. So
All right,
I got a super chow from Pepito earlier for $5. He says, what he's describing is a simp, not a confident man, a simp who follows her in her frame instead of setting the terms of his relationship. Yes, I agree. And then Zapier gave us $70. Thank you, Zapier, and says, or maybe we just like Rantison to rant. All right. Thanks, guys, for coming on the show. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. Yeah. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we talked about on the show today, and share the video because sharing is caring. Thanks so much for coming on this episode of Ranting Frame. We'll talk to you guys in the next one. Have a good one.
Men's right activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.